Shadow Show.
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 Shadowing it.
Two delightful surprises for you today, Stugotz, and the audience. It is the rare Greg Cody Monday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
That's very. Are you as excited about it as we are? Greg Cody is not usually here on Mondays. We got plenty to talk about on Mondays. No one's talked for a couple of days about sports at microphones.
He almost accidentally called the police on his iPhone. I saw that. You know when you press like all the buttons at the same time and there's like a beacon that's sent to the authorities? I saw that happening as you were asking his first question.
I was confused if you meant like he almost called the police on his iPhone, like from his iPhone, or if he like almost reported his iPhone to the police for doing something to him.
I was scrambling to turn off my phone because heaven forbid that it would ding or ping while on the air.
Yeah. If only there were ways to control that from happening before.
This is one of the things that's happening here is that he doesn't know how to turn it down, and several times I've had to just turn it off for him. Like, just turn it off because I'll turn it down, and then he'll turn it back up because he doesn't like it turned down.
Yeah. There was a time where you just threw it. I mean,
I tossed it.
And I understand.
That.
I mean,
I tossed it to a couch. It wasn't hurled like into the ocean.
Yeah, it was a little violent.
Soft landing.
The other delightful surprise, Lucy, who has become a genuine football star. Lucy has parachuted in to grace us with all of her college football knowledge. And I believe, because the professional football was so shitty yesterday, I believe we should start with college football.
Wow.
This is the best day of my life.
Huh.
She had a giant breakfast in Madison. She conquered Madison. Madison has rarely looked as fun as Lucy made it look.
Not true. Madison is widely considered the best college town in America, and hate to say it, can confirm. Wow. It's awesome.
Wow.
I think Playboy once voted it the best best college party town in America, but I have rarely seen that kind of fun the way that you were illustrating that kind of fun over the weekend. You brought us Madison in a way that was colorful. Greg, did you see any of it, or did you stop listening the moment we stopped talking about you?
I did not see anything from Madison. No, I apologize.
Did you stop listening, though?
No.
I mean, you went to your phone. You were doing something. You were not interested in what Lucy was saying.
I certainly was.
Did you even know I was gone, Greg?
I knew you haven't been in here a while.
I don't believe you.
Welcome back.
Jack.
She's been joining us from her father's basement, and so it's nice to have her here. And Billy had a restful Sunday in which he is advocating for more people to feel the genuine peace of not having your team playing on Sunday.
Huh.
It's nice to have a bye week early in the year. Now, I'm granted the circumstances after that Thursday night game, not ideal, but not feeling like I had to sit there and watch the Dolphins, and have the emotional highs and lows of a game ruin my Sunday. Incredible feeling. Even though the Thursday loss kind of made the weekend not feel great. When you hear C.J. Beathard might be your quarterback,
wow.
Not good. Not good.
Bad.
Not a good Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I love CJ.
No.
The only good quarterback, semi-good quarterback to come out of Iowa ever.
A defiant Ian Rappaport reporting that a defiant Tua will not retire is not how you want to spend your weekend, that he's going to consult neurologists and he will not retire after. And this I have not seen before. Tell me if any of you guys have seen this. And it's one thing to have a bunch of retired players tell Tua he should retire. An active NFL coach, Antonio Pierce, saying from the other side of the country that Tua needs to retire. Tell me you've seen that happen before.
I never have, but I mean, Antonio Pierce, it's coming from a good source. I mean, that guy had a big win yesterday. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. I would trust him.
Because he won?
Yeah, beat Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah,
Baltimore. How about that? It's a bloodbath for my picks this year.
Ooh.
I mean, what a week 2 was awful.
Let's go ahead and start the show.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise, move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys, not so tough, but mans keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize, like there's better tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan, if you wanna touch my please use caution. Stop that, stop that, stop that.
We will descend into the fun and frolic of football in just a moment, Stugotz. But this week, we are doing a couple of things here that are different for us. Tomorrow, we are doing a voter registration day to make sure, nonpartisan, that people register to vote and understand what's at stake over the next couple of months, because I really don't want it to feel any kind of normal or to skip past multiple assassination attempts on a former president, the most recent one here yesterday locally. I don't want to make that seem any kind of normal, or a Monday after it seem any kind of normal, when I fear that we're going to descend over the next couple of months into more and more chaos on this front, because given that a whole bunch of people have been fomented on hatred, and you can't always get them to march in exactly the direction you want, and you can't get amateur assassins to behave sanely or how you think about things, I really never know when there's something like an assassination attempt. Is that someone trying to kill Trump because they hate Trump, or to cause the chaos that would then result in America by killing someone like Trump? I don't pretend to know or think I know how someone who would risk their freedom by killing a person thinks, but I simply don't want to just skip past it as we spend our Mondays and this week frolicking. And we're going to do something tomorrow and over the next 2 months so that people just become active and exert whatever power they have over a situation that can feel helpless and hopeless when you're talking about something that I have not seen in my lifetime, and I don't think we've seen very much in the history of politics or power. Multiple assassination attempts, thwarted one better than the other, but the chaos that would have descended after that, I don't just want to skip past it. And I also don't know how to transition into football after it, because I don't know how you guys receive the news, and I don't want to become numb to the news just because this country is numb to gun violence, that we're talking about an AK-47 on a golf course, and we're talking about West Palm Beach, and we're talking about things that we've never seen before, as tensions are going to continue to escalate because the divisions continue to escalate.
Yeah, I wish this is a whole different subject, but I wish we as a country would simply ban assault weapons to begin with. They're weapons of war, and I don't think they have any business. I'm pro Second Amendment. You should be allowed to have a hunting rifle. You should be allowed to have a gun for your personal safety. But an AK-47 or AR-15, whatever they're called, just heinous weapons that have no place in America. I agree with you. Bipartisan, no matter who you support, it's just dispiriting to see something like this. And it's dispiriting, frankly, when Donald Trump puts in all capital letters on social media, "I hate Taylor Swift," with about 5 exclamation points, because that is enlisting the lunatics on his side to maybe do harm to her. There's no business for any of this in American politics or American life. It's just awful, no matter which side of the aisle it comes from.
So to be clear, tomorrow we are encouraging people to just go vote. Vote for whoever you want to vote for, but it's important that you go out there and vote. And we're not talking about the Pro Bowl here, right? We're talking, serious stuff, serious votes? Okay.
Yes.
Because the Pro Bowl, I am tired of guys getting into the Pro Bowl who have no right being in the Pro Bowl. I'm tired of guys passing down invitations to play in such a big game, such a big event. Remember when the Pro Bowl meant something?
Thank you for the transition,
You got it.
Stugotz. Appreciate it. God bless football. We'll be out shortly. Stugotz has given you his fiery takes. I don't actually want to talk very much to start about professional football, although I will co-sign what Mike was saying last week about how offense is going down. You have the Steelers, Stugotz. I think they're the best symbol for what's happening in this sport right now. They are 2-0 on the road with their backup quarterback, and they've scored 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
Splash.
Yeah. He's a good coach. I mean,
it's not splash. It's Chinese water torture.
Huh.
It's not splash.
It's 2-0.
It is 2-0.
Yeah.
Yes, it's 2-0. But what it means about the sport that we enjoy is that there are 2 teams worse at that than them. They went on the road and won with their backup quarterback. They've scored 1 touchdown. Have they scored 30 points this season?
They have 31. Yeah. I'm not certain Justin Fields is the backup quarterback anymore. I think he might be the starter moving forward. He's 2-0.
All right.
I mean,
But
he's not turning the ball over. I mean,
the Commanders yesterday winning with 7 field goals.
Yeah.
Like what? I don't want to watch that. It's not.
Brutal.
They've got a very exciting quarterback. I don't want to watch 7 field goals. But what I do want to talk about, though, Stugotz, is the state of the state in college football, because Florida and FSU being this bad, since being 13-0, FSU has lost by a combined score of 135-49, 4 games. They've lost. They're the first top 10 team, preseason ranked, to lose to 3 straight unranked opponents. So they lose to Georgia 63-3 in the last game of last year, and then it's 24-21, 28-13, 20-12. And they're staggeringly bad, and they're not the worst team in the state. They're 0-3. I think they'd be favored against Florida. I think they'd be favored.
I do too.
I don't think people would be even allowed to bet on that game. They'd say, please don't do that.
Right.
Look out for yourselves.
We care about your money.
Spend time with
What's
your
the
family.
point?
Don't
Yeah.
touch Florida State.
All right, so you may think Florida is worse. Their situation feels worse. Their coach is in more trouble. The idea that Napier is being booed while doing an in-stadium don't drive drunk ad. He's being booed at all times and isn't going to last the season because they were down 20-0 against Texas A&M. And Texas A&M does have they do have 3 players on their defensive line that are like top 150 draft picks.
And they found the quarterback this weekend. I mean,
Texas A&M is a really talented team. You know, they even with a new head coach, they recruited really well under Jimbo Fisher. They had the #1 recruiting class. It's not like losing to Texas A&M isn't a terrible thing. I think it's just the combination of you've lost every game. You got blown out against Miami. They did beat Samford, but like it's been a long few years of Billy Napier, and I think what's so frustrating for Florida fans is like, especially last season watching Florida, they are a talented team. They have like decent players. I just don't know if I've ever watched a game and been like, that is like the least disciplined team I've ever seen. Just like constant penalties, like stuff that happens that you're like, you should know better. Like you should just know better. And that stuff I feel like all comes down to coaching and Billy Napier.
I think Florida's issues are easier to correct more quickly. I think it's going to take FSU a couple of years because they've basically ignored the high school ranks and just gone all in on portal. It's going to take a while for that wheel to fully turn. But the crazy thing about FSU being 0-3 is they've lost to teams who aren't playing well against them. I don't think Georgia Tech was especially special against them. Boston College was average or below average in 2 of the 3 phases of the game. That's the worst I've seen Memphis look for a while, and that's the best the FSU D-line looked all season long. They're somehow favored against Cal, who has shown so far this season they're better. As we were having a text exchange, Dan, like FSU has now told us exactly who they are 3 times this season. People should start believing them.
They're the only Power 5 team that's 0-3, correct? Put it on the poll, Juju at Le Batard Show. Who's worse, Florida or Florida State? Because the 2 best teams in the state are Miami and the University of Central Florida, correct? Like if Central Florida was playing either Florida or FSU, they would be favored, even though they barely won this week.
They play in a few weeks, so we will see if UCF is better than Florida. I think like what is so shocking about Florida and Florida State being bad is these are 2 teams that have won won national championships in the last 20 years, which is a very rare thing in college football. There's so much money. There's so much fan support behind these two programs, and you are in the second best state for recruiting. Like, there is absolutely no reason that it should ever get this bad for these two programs. Like, your floor should be 7 wins. And these two teams, like, Florida State may not win a game this year. That is crazy.
If you can't recruit locally after a perfect regular season and an ACC conference championship, you have big time issues, Dan.
Mike, but just to be clear, you're saying Florida has recruited well, and Florida State is mostly going through the transfer, and that's their mistake.
Yeah, I think Florida's more correctable in that if they make the right hire. Now, they haven't made the right hire in quite some time, which is why they keep finding themselves here. But you have the 5-star in Lagway that has impressed.
Yeah.
I know he went up against a really tough opponent, but he seems to be good, especially for a true freshman. They have talent. The composite talent is there. Like, if you plug in Lane Kiffin, it may end up in a disaster, but tactically, I think he can overcome some of their issues, which from a composite talent ranking spot, like they're showing on the field worse than they actually are. Whereas FSU, that is a systemic issue that's going to take a little bit.
You mentioned Lane Kiffin. What happened with him this weekend was funny because he's corrected everything. He went from FAU to Mississippi, and he's going to be able to get a better job than that. He made fun of the Brown Lakes in his city when he was on with us. He is right now doing all of the interviewing that he's going to do for future jobs because he's going to be a very coveted candidate. And what Mike and Lucy are saying is true, Stugotz. It's a bit staggering to see FSU go from 13-0 to this kind of bad this quickly. Like it's not just what Lucy's saying about you've won national championships this century. It's that 4 games ago, we were all yelling and screaming that they deserved, or, we were having the argument before the quarterback got hurt that they deserved to play for the national championship among the 4 best teams in the country. And the other 4 that were in that don't fall at all. Never mind fall like this.
Michigan kind of fell a little bit, but like Florida State and Michigan have both been, victims of the same issue here. Like with just the game from, okay, you didn't make the playoff, now you're playing Georgia. Everybody opted out for Florida State. Like every single player opted out. I think they had 60 opt-outs. Like it was batshit crazy. And then you lose so many players to the draft. They were so portal heavy last year. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't, though. Like, you kind of see the same thing happening with Colorado right now, where, like, instead of recruiting, they were just going so heavy on the portal. And I know they beat Colorado State this weekend, but they're not that good of a team. And so you just, in this day and age of college football, the portal is good. It helps. Like, you can really use it to supplement your team, but that's what it has to be. It has to be a supplement. Like, you still need to recruit.
You mentioned Colorado. A lot of people were waiting for them to lose at Colorado State this week. And Deion Sanders has an awful lot of commercials for someone who won 4 games last season.
Well, he had him before that. I mean,
he's gotten a lot.
Yeah.
It's an unusual situation he finds himself in where he's going to ride Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter as far as they will take him. And you saw what happened. Let's play that sound of Shedeur Sanders on the field, reminding the Colorado State quarterback that he doesn't bleep with him.
I think it's worth noting that Colorado is definitely a shit-talking team. If there's one team in college football that talks more shit than Colorado, weird enough, it's Colorado State. Like, they came out before this game and was like, last year we should have murdered them. Used the term murder, which was kind of crazy. And we're like, Instagram likes, Instagram views don't get you wins. No, it doesn't, but they were just better than you. So, like, this is kind of a game where both of these schools have talked so much shit, and it's weird because it's like, what? Colorado State, why are you doing that? Yeah. Like, there's no reason for you to be doing that.
You haven't been any good since Sonny Lubick was the coach.
Not like Colorado has been good.
They're in the Pac-12 for 5 minutes, and they're like, we're letting everybody know.
Sonny Lubick.
Yeah. Great poll right there.
A lot of people were holding this up against Shedeur Sanders. I thought last week what he did post-game was way worse than this. This Colorado State quarterback was indeed talking shit.
Yeah, he deserved it.
On Instagram. He deserved it the way that Shedeur deserved it the previous week by going to the coin toss telling Nebraska players, we're going to roll you.
Billy, how did you feel about how Mike came in dressed today? Because there's one local team that we have not talked about that now represents football hope for this city above all others, because Cam Ward goes, 5 touchdowns, 345 yards. They broke all sorts of records, school record for yards. I know it's Ball State, but points through 3 games. They clearly got a quarterback. And Mike Ryan's wearing a UM hat that's autographed by a bunch of different people. I don't know who it was autographed by.
Not a single autograph.
Yeah, that's just
Some
that's
marble
a pattern.
design.
Yeah, just
looks like a
pattern.
floor,
Right.
like it's
No
not
autographs.
tile.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not wear a hat that is autographed.
Where did you think the autographs were?
Same.
Like this?
All over the place.
Looked like
From
smudges.
here, they looked. It doesn't look like autographs to you.
Looks like
I thought. I
smudges.
thought it was handwriting and smudges all over your hat.
No, it's
It's
a
like marbles.
Yeah.
kitchen counter.
Yeah, know your hats.
Okay,
dirty
my
hat.
bad. Regardless, he's wearing a lot of UM gear and the gold chain on the outside, which suggests that the swagger for UM is back. How did you feel, Billy, when you saw Mike walk in? He's feeling good about his football team.
It's fine. I mean, he can feel happy about his team. He wears the gold chain outside sometimes. I don't think it's specific to. I feel like this is like an appropriate level of pride in the team that he represents, right? Like, he's not being over the top. We were recording God Bless Football, so I don't know if he came in and had like some sort of spectacle when he walked in, or was like
Walked in
talking about the
like
meeting, or-
Ric Flair. Yeah,
Really?
walked in.
With
Yeah.
some confidence.
Did
some
you have like
swagger.
the
He's got a
whatever it's called,
quarterback.
the
Like,
overcoat
this
or
Got a
whatever?
team.
This part is obvious,
Robe,
is it
there
not?
you go.
He does have a team,
Yeah.
and he's obviously got a quarterback.
Yeah, but let's look at the next 5 games. At Cal versus Louisville, they can't play these next 5 games unscathed.
It's been easy going so far.
Yeah, it's been very easy going.
and the schedule is not the toughest. Like, this could be a good season for UM.
right,
They're
but
in the ACC. I mean, come on.
I know. But again, the next 5 games are a challenge. I think South Florida's not bad. They're 2-1. Their only losses to Alabama. It's a night game on the road. I think that's a tough.
I'm not saying Mario Cristobal can't lose one of these games or lose to Louisville. I'm saying that the reason for hope is real, because it is unusual to see a college quarterback playing that obviously unhurried, like very relaxed, footwork very relaxed in a way. It's not normal to have a quarterback who's only played 3 games for your team look like somebody who's got. You're not inventing that. He's clearly got a handle on the situation.
But it was Ball State, Florida A&M, and a bad Florida team so far.
Right.
Okay, agreed.
So, like, that affects the way that it looks.
Pass rush. Look, Texas A&M's pass rush is a different thing. So, yes, of course, it does affect how things look. But he was also running 20 yards backward and not worried about the fact that he was running 20 yards backwards.
Sonny Lubick has a steakhouse named after him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the dream, right?
It's called the Sonny Lubick Steakhouse.
Put it on the poll. Is the dream to have a steakhouse named after you at Le Batard Show?
So Mike Ryan texted me this weekend, and I believe you said that Miami's win against Ball State was the largest margin of victory in FBS?
Largest FBS shutout.
And then immediately after,
okay?
Tennessee was up 65 at half against Kent State, offered them a nonstop clock. They said, hey, we don't really have to keep this going. Kent State said, no, we're going to lose with respect.
I like that.
Still, somehow not the most points scored this weekend. They won 71-0. South Alabama beat Northwest State 87-10. 87 points by the Jags.
Sad.
That is awesome.
Awesome. It's awful.
No, that's rock and roll.
Come on.
It's South Alabama. You got to let them do it. That is so cool.
That's the reason why I prefer the NFL over college football, is because in college football, particularly the good teams, everybody's got those 3 or 4 games built in that are just laughing stock games.
In pro football, it's only the Panthers and the Cowboys that happens to.
Correct.
Well, you never know about the NFL. You do know in college football.
Did you see Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame 2 weeks ago? You get those crazy, awesome moments where, like, New Mexico State comes into Auburn and beats Auburn in Jordan-Hare.
Yeah.
Those victories are fun. And,
And
there are
always-
blowouts. Who cares, though? Everybody's drunk. Everybody's having a good time. Your NFL was boring this weekend. My college football kicked ass.
Okay.
Sonny Lubick was also friends and a classmate of Evel Knievel.
Wow.
Watch out for the Huskies,
great
up to
fact.
23 this week.
Amazing.
Should be noted, Should be noted that Miami has scheduled those teams in the past and had lost to like Middle Tennessee State,
Yes.
FIU, was touch and go against Central Michigan. So this was, if you are trying to get to Charlotte for an ACC championship, you need to look dominant, and that didn't appear to me like it was a fluke. They were dominating. Ball State didn't even make a single trip to the red zone, and you had your depth in there early on in the third quarter, and the depth looked really encouraging and didn't let up. So I thought that was a very encouraging performance for Miami.
The Northern Illinois victory looks all the more impressive, and the ranking looks all the more impressive when you see Notre Dame go into Purdue and win that way, no matter how bad Purdue is.
Purdue is probably the worst team in the FBS right now, like with Florida
With
State.
Florida State?
They're up there. Purdue is very, very, very bad. But that was an incredibly impressive win in the sense of like they were able to bounce back. Riley Leonard looked really, really good.
They let him run.
Yeah, I don't want to take that away from Notre Dame, but like we're underestimating how bad Purdue is. But these games do matter in a sense. Like if you look at Oregon, who did bounce back this weekend, looked like they kind of figured it out against Oregon State. They were close against Idaho and they were close against Boise State, and they dropped in the polls. And the polls sort of matter at this point because it's kind of going to be what the college football rankings are based off of. So like even though you know, okay, we're going to beat the crap out of Ball State, you still have to do it. Like you have to beat the crap out of them. And it's a nice little warm-up. So it just makes you want the better games more. So now we've got a little taste, okay? Sure, we have a 61-0 Ball State win. You got Cal in 2 weeks. Now you're getting ready. And Cal, wow, great fan base. I am in love with Cal Twitter. They are awesome. They're playing Florida State this weekend. And they've been doing is tweeting, we're going to Woke Campbell Stadium.
Northern Illinois was paid $1.4 million or something like that to go into Notre Dame by Notre Dame. And what I was beginning to mention about Lane Kiffin, Stugotz, did you see what happened with Wake Forest and Mississippi as soon as that game was over?
I did not. The Deeks, huh?
One of my favorite moments from the college football weekend, Ole Miss came into Winston-Salem, beat the literal crap out of Wake Forest, 40-6.
There was no literal crap on the field.
Wake Forest, probably. So they had a home-and-home scheduled. This game went so badly for Wake Forest that they paid $1 million to opt out of their game at Ole Miss next year. And Lane Kiffin came out in the post-game presser and was like, I just want to tell my guys, like, you're so good, teams are paying $1 million to not play you. And you know what? I thought it was a weak move at first, but I kind of respect Wake Forest being like, look, we are not doing that again. It is not worth it. Give us NCA&T.
Mike, what is the line on UCF Florida? Because I think I can make a credible argument that UCF is the second best team in the state based on just how bad Florida and Florida State have looked.
Yeah, I think USF can lay claim. This will be an interesting weekend for that, but there is an advanced line. Those Florida and UCF play in 2 weeks, and Florida is presently favored by 2.5 points. Now, again, lines are designed to get 50-50 action, so they're just trying to entice people to bet at that point. And as we mentioned, Florida State, despite looking terrible all season long, is still favored against an undefeated Cal team.
Please don't encourage UCF's fan base. Like they're the worst.
Yep.
I'm going to say this. Florida State and Florida are both going to turn around their seasons. Neither is as bad as they've looked so far. They're both going to compete to sneak into a bad bowl game. They're both going to vie for that six-win category. I would not write off either
Mike
team.
Ryan is making faces at you. Lucy's making faces
And I'm not
at you.
surprised.
It's a
that
good
they're
time
favored.
to say it, though.
Have
Today's
you
a good time to
watched
say
any
it.
Florida State?
Yes,
They're bad at everything.
Where are the wins?
Okay.
They're like just really like across the board. Like people are like, oh, it's DJ. No, it's everything.
Okay,
They're
it's
terrible.
an indictment of the poll system. Number 10 in the country. Who votes in those polls, and why didn't they see this coming?
I'm very against preseason polls. I agree
Bingo.
with you. I don't think there should be any rankings until week 5.
The portal, the belief was, as one would be prone to do, they went 13-0. Surely they won't fall a lot.
Right.
Right. Yeah, but things change, man. I mean,
Thank you, Stugotz.
You got it.
Excellent analysis by you as punctuation on the segment.
Colorado in some games, but blame the offensive line again. From blown leads to some bad beats, it's always blamed on everyone but him. Joe run and throwing black and gold like no one can. But he'll come and go and hit the road as soon as he has the chance. We're always talking about Deion, 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 Deion.
Can the group help me with a bet with Greg Cody? I want to bet him that the University of Florida will not be making any kind of bowl game.
I know what he can do. He can honor the one Florida State fan that said he would eat dog shit if Florida State lost to Boston College.
Yeah.
Then Florida State did lose to Boston College. He said, I'm not eating the dog shit, and deleted all his accounts.
Wow.
And that's why Florida State keeps losing. He needs to eat the dog shit.
He should eat the dog shit.
Yep.
No doubt.
Right.
He should literally eat the dog shit.
Well, Lucy's apparently volunteering you as tribute.
How do you
Yeah.
feel about those steaks, Greg? I mean,
Well, first of all, I clearly said, and you can replay the tape, as we say in the business, I clearly said that either Florida or Florida State is going to come back and have a decent season, go on a run. But since then, I've discovered or been reminded that Florida Gators have the toughest schedule, perhaps in the history of mankind. And so Florida State is the team I'm saddling up as the comeback team.
Your son also whispered in my ear, doing some excellent executive producing, push him on how much Florida State football he's watched this year when you claim to have some Florida State football expertise.
Right.
Your son playing defense against you, wanting to expose you nationally and on live television, was saying, go ahead and push him on, ask him some Florida State questions and see how that goes for him.
First of all,
I'm not going to take a quiz.
I'm not going to take a quiz. I have watched a bit of the Seminoles. I don't need to watch all those dreadful games.
Right, who wants to
have
watch
an
that?
opinion.
Exactly.
Look,
Yep.
they're not as bad. They weren't as good as 13-0. They're not as bad as 0-3.
They were as good as 13.
They're definitely as bad as 0-3.
Okay.
They're terrible
both things
across
are
the
wrong.
board.
Right.
If
They're really bad.
I haven't committed the Knowles schedule to memory. If I had it in front of me, I would recite exactly.
You can
the
look
game.
it up.
Okay.
I have it in front of me right now.
let's
They're
do
favored
it.
against Cal.
Wins and
Are we
losses.
doing win-loss?
Oh, I love
Oh yeah,
this.
sports radio.
Brought
That's
to
a
you by
tough.
someone.
That's a tough game.
Can I stop? Can I just stop before we do wins and losses? I know Billy wants to do wins and losses, but I
Me?
don't want to just skip past what happened, which I believe to be a historic thing in the history of Greg Cody shows, which is Billy is Greg Cody's greatest ally in the world. For Billy to say, so both things are wrong in a day when Greg Cody is here, was legitimately shocking to me.
Well, no, I'm not. That's not my opinion. Those opinions aren't coming from me. He just made a statement. He made two statements as one.
They were
sandwich,
both
and
wrong.
you guys disputed each one of those statements
Right.
as wrong. And
Right.
well, I
I'll
guess
make a
both
bet
those are
about
wrong.
Florida State. I'm looking at their schedule. They got 5 wins in the
Attaboy.
bank.
What? Okay.
Wow.
In
Well,
the
then
bank.
then
You
they're not
haven't
bowl.
won.
You haven't won. They're not bowl eligible then.
Okay.
Actually, you do
Banking it.
not need 6 wins. There are some bowl games that will take you if you're 5 and 7.
Well,
because
isn't
there's
that if-
so many bowl games.
Isn't that if there's not enough people that are
Yeah,
eligible?
if there's not enough teams that are eligible, and then if you're 5 and 7, it's based off of like academic standards is how you get in
There
first.
you go.
I don't know if Florida State's a good.
Everyone in
or
my high
not.
school.
Greg, I
FSU.
support you because
Except
these
me.
bad bowl games, they want a big brand.
Sure
and like,
they
how
do.
often do they get Florida State or
But
Florida?
wait, where are the
And they want a
victories?
traveling
I've
fan
got,
base.
I've got a
Oh,
Charleston Southern.
They're in the bank.
They've got a Charleston Southern victory in the bank, but Notre Dame.
We don't know that necessarily because we thought they had a Memphis victory.
No, Mike didn't. Mike put the town on alert. Did you?
The town on alert.
Mike told you Memphis. Mike bet the money line plus 9.5
Saying
because
for
Mike
months
put
they
the
were-
town on
Yep.
alert.
Yeah, I've been saying for months that they were going to lose that Memphis game. The ATM does not stop this weekend against Tallahassee. So SMU, one of the few teams that can actually lay claim to say we've had a more disastrous season than FSU. So maybe there's a win there. They are hosting Florida. They have Charleston Southern, as you mentioned. Outside of that, UNC's got quarterback issues. It's going to be hard, Greg.
They have Duke. Right. I mean,
they've
Duke
lost.
is 3-0.
I don't want to hear about
Stugotz.
it. I mean, Duke is beating
Duke
nobody.
has been good for a couple of years.
It's also
now.
I don't want to hear about it. Yeah,
you got FSU traveling to. This is a team that is 0-3 and hasn't played a true road game yet.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and by the way, I saw the crowd over there. Seemed like plenty of good tickets available. This is a fan base that had a lot of opinions on attendance, and even though a third of the stadium is under construction, you would think that would mean for a packed house, but it isn't. Hey, maybe there's some really good deals on the secondary ticket market out there in Tallahassee. And if you're curious, I'm finding the best deals out there. Why don't you do what I want you to do, and that's download the Game Time app. Create an account and use code Dan for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
It's game time.
I have what I believe to be in front of me the single greatest college football information / stat from the weekend. I ask for you guys to knock this off of the top of the mountain. Arch Manning was timed at a top speed of 20.7 miles per hour. I know that Stugotz and Greg Cody have been loudly adamant about not liking this kind of extra information, but they don't want new information. They don't want everyone timed on everything, but I was stunned to see that time of 20.7 miles per hour is faster than the fastest time that Tyreek Hill has recorded on a football field this season, 20.3 miles per hour. You say no, I'm telling you it's statistically so, and I ask you to come up with a better piece of information. This is Cooper Manning's son. Eli and Peyton are his uncles. So this is not the prodigy from the quarterback chromosome. This is quarterback chromosome adjacent.
Yes.
Cooper, but I was stunned that Arch Manning runs that fast. I was stunned to see the Stugotz tweet of Arch Manning can scoot.
Yes.
So Arch Manning's run was 67 yards. Peyton's longest NFL run was 33 yards, and Eli's was 23. So Arch Manning's touchdown 67-yard run was longer than Eli and Peyton's longest runs combined in their entire NFL career.
You are a liar. Peyton Manning never ran for 33 yards. I demand
2001. That's what it
I
says,
demand
according
proof.
to Sports Illustrated.
I didn't see
I got to
it.
see this
I
run.
watched all the
There is
games.
no way that happened in a professional football game, and I do not remember it. And put it on the poll as well.
I have a video that I can't show because it's game footage. But
Put it on the poll.
Colts website. Are they allowed to lie?
At Le Batard Show, propaganda, fake news. What's more stunning, that Peyton Manning once ran for 33 yards or that Eli Manning once ran for 23 yards? At Le Batard Show. Do any of you have a bit of college football information that is more impressive than what it is? You just said, I offered that as a promise that I was going to shock you, and you still said, no way, wow, that can't be true.
Okay, this is why. Tyreek Hill has run 23.34 miles per hour.
Not this season. I said this season. Clocked on a field this season.
Yeah, I saw that graphic out too, and I was
Early
like,
days.
this is one of those, it has to be fake news. And then I found patient zero, and it was an aggregation from Dove, and I don't believe those anymore because Dove isn't even Dove. So I'm just going to go ahead and say there had to have been a point in that game on Thursday where Tyreek Hill ran faster than Arch Manning, although Arch Manning did look really fast.
He really did. I have one that's Arch Manning related, actually. He is the 8th favorite to win the Heisman Trophy this year. He's thrown 14 passes.
Hey, can you scan up to the top of that favored list?
That is amazing. He's going to win it.
Who's favored?
Cam Ward was second
Cam
last
Ward.
time I looked.
Nah, look again.
I am made deeply happy as I see this face in his new studios at the top of his new business empire. Dominique Foxworth is a man that I admire for many different reasons. And a lot of people admire him because, great football player and Harvard Business School and financial whiz who has had great power in the NFL. But one of the reasons that is at the very top for me is that he tackles the hardest things just because. And so he decided to become a screenwriter. He decided, just on the side, that he was going to do American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. He was a staff writer. It begins Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on FX, is the 2-hour premiere. He's also got the Dominique Foxworth Show, and you should know that is absolutely worth listening to. He's becoming uncomfortable with how much I'm.
He's also
complimenting him.
spectacular at receiving compliments.
Yeah, he's got some damn good looks as well.
He's a Hall of Famer at receiving compliments.
Yeah, no doubt.
No one's enjoying this, guys. Like, the listeners aren't, the viewers aren't, I'm not, you're not. I mean, we had a football weekend, fellas.
Well, it was kind of a shitty football professional weekend. And I wanted to ask you, because one of the things that I find super interesting always about sports is how bigger, stronger, faster, and survival of the fittest evolves. And clearly the defenses are better at making Patrick Mahomes and others throw for 150 yards. They're making offense harder to come by, even though all the rules are set up to favor the offense. What is happening, Dominique, there strategically, that the games yesterday are 7 field goals from the Commanders and the Steelers are 2-0 with their backup quarterback on the road because Atlanta and Denver can't do anything against them?
Yeah, I feel like we've been seeing this evolution kind of take its time, and we finally gotten to a point where it's kind of all coming to a head. But I feel like the rules changed. And around the time I was in the league, towards my time out, the rules started to change. The offenses started to get more sophisticated. And now the defense is caught up. And I think the bodies on the defense have caught up in ways that have made it easier for teams to run the ball, but a lot more difficult for them to pass the ball. And the schemes have kind of caught up with a lot of the simulated pressures. And we saw Spags doing some interesting stuff. Because if you think about from the quarterback standpoint and offensive standpoint, when a blitz is coming, you're normally looking for like a topper, someone to replace this person in a blitz. So a safety will go over the top of the nickel if he's going to blitz. And Spags has done this thing where he does this really huge rotation. He's not the only one in Kansas City, but lots of teams have done this where they do this rotation in the secondary where the blitz comes from somewhere where you don't expect it because there's no tells in it. And you see that with the simulated pressures where a quarterback will feel like he's getting blitzed because they're sending a linebacker or a secondary player, but they're dropping other people out on the other side and end up with the quarterback and the offense reacting as if they're getting blitzed, but the defense still having 7 or 8 guys back in coverage. So I think it's just taking time. We've evolved to a point where the defense has generated an advantage, and now the offense will at some point, and we'll keep doing this. That's one of the best things about football.
Am I wrong in thinking that the Jags shouldn't have given that money to Trevor Lawrence? He had 16 yards in the third quarter yesterday passing, but not in the third quarter. I tuned into the game in the third quarter, and he had thrown for 16 total yards.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't say that they shouldn't have given the money. Trevor Lawrence is an incredible talent, which is always enticing and really hard to find. And when you watch any of his games, you could clip out 5 to 6 plays, and it feels like even some of his worst games that just look like he's one of the best quarterbacks in football. The problem is the consistency throughout a game or throughout an entire season. He hasn't been able to establish that. And up until now, we've been kind of excusing it with coaching issues or receiver drops. But at a certain point, I think we all just have to accept that something's wrong there. And no matter who they bring into coach or the receivers that they bring in, and maybe things will change with Brian Thomas because he's a really impressive young receiver. But it seems like Trevor Lawrence kind of does this hero ball thing as if he's at Clemson at a certain point in the game. And he hasn't gotten to the point where he's comfortable with taking the incomplete pass and moving on and trying to play within structure and only being a hero when you have to be a hero. That's kind of what Josh Allen has struggled with. But the problem with comparing those two is Josh Allen's ceiling is so much higher than Trevor Lawrence has been that he can endure some of the negative plays that Trevor Lawrence hasn't been able to.
Dominique, how many of the other paid quarterbacks, you talk about consistency. The reason I get frustrated with Trevor Lawrence is because every game I'm watching 4 throws that every other quarterback in the league makes, and he's missing them by a lot. And so you're talking about consistency. I don't know how correctable that is because it's every game I'm seeing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is we end up focusing and highlighting those things, and we kind of rewrite or revise our history of a specific game based on like who won or lost. And I think Trevor Lawrence has been on the wrong side of a lot of those games, and he's had enough issues that you can point to him and say it's his fault. But there have been enough problems. Like last year, I think they kind of set a record for number of dropped touchdown passes. So I think that's the problem with Trevor Lawrence is it's the evaluation has never been completely clear. And I think the final thing we can kind of establish is that he's not a top tier guy. Even though he has the top tier ability, he's not that guy, but he's certainly not bad enough that if I was the Jaguars, I'd let him go and go back into the market. Yeah, and I'm just risk averse in that way. My reaction, and I think Mike Ryan might have made fun of me a long time ago because I told the Browns to pay Baker Mayfield. So, like, I always think that if you got a quarterback that's okay, you keep him because I'm scared of what you might end up with.
Dominique,
If you're Shad Khan and Bill Belichick calls you today, what do you do, Dominique?
You hang up the phone and get back to work. I don't know. Like, it's not time to bail already. And the Bill Belichick's value to a team, I don't know, is about quarterback development. And I guess maybe you could argue that he could help Trevor Lawrence mature to a point where he doesn't have to make all these big plays. But Bill Belichick is a defensive mastermind, and I don't think it's time to move on. Are you going to do that with every team every week? That's the move.
Yeah, that's the
Yes, I
joke.
am.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the joke.
Yeah.
Dallas would be the strong pick today. Dallas, like that. That one makes a lot of sense.
Maybe
Dallas.
Baltimore. I mean, Cincinnati. You never
Maybe
know.
Baltimore.
Enough of John Harbaugh. Someone win with Lamar Jackson. It hasn't been John Harbaugh. I mean, you have a two-time MVP, and Harbs has done nothing with Lamar Jackson.
There are some numbers.
Belichick would win 10 Super Bowls with that
There are
guy.
some numbers with Baltimore. Baltimore loses more 10-point leads in the fourth quarter than any team in the league. Lamar, this is the first time they're 0-2 since 2015, Stugotz. This is the first time a reigning MVP is 0-2, excuse me, since it's been like 22 years since a reigning MVP started 0-2. That organization does not start 0-2. That was a weird one to lose to the motorcycle gang of Minshew and Crosby.
Yeah, they lost to Minshew last year when he was a quarterback of the Colts. Another one. Like, it feels like a thing that shouldn't be for the Ravens, but they are the team that gives up these inexplicable late game losses. They did it multiple times last year. And you think that a team that runs the ball as well as they can and plays defense as well as they do should be able to put games away. But they've never been able to do that in recent Lamar Jackson history, which, like, it feels really inexplicable. The game yesterday was a lot about penalties and the interior of the Ravens offensive line not being able to hold up. And Lamar Jackson brings out his heroics every now and then, but it wasn't enough in this game.
Stugotz, you're firing Harbaugh. That is the first time in 3 years that Lamar Jackson has lost back-to-back games. It's the first time in 3 years.
Dominique, are the Saints an actual good team? How do you explain the way the Cowboys lost on a day when Dak throws for almost 300 yards at home?
I think the explanation for the Cowboys' loss is kind of tied in with the explanation in the maturation of modern offenses, modern defenses. Is the Cowboys are built to be a team that is out there to stop the pass, and they can't stop the run. And that's one of the fundamental things about football. And I think more teams will start to kind of pivot towards that. We get smaller, more athletic bodies out there. And they've had some issues with the nose tackle position, or I guess the defensive tackle position. And they've tried to address them. But I think this team wants to be and plays best with a lead. And that's how they're built. And if you get a big lead out against them, they're going to kind of wither. And that's been consistently what's happened to them last year, how they lost the games they lost last year and how they ended their season last year and their regular season game losses last year. In this game, it was the same situation. They get behind early. They have one outstanding playmaker in CeeDee Lamb. They don't run the ball particularly well, and they can't stop the other team from running the ball that well. You can't win in the NFL. Forget the NFL. You can't win in any sport if you can't run the ball and you can't stop the run. Ready? League, not any sport. I guess if you can't run the ball, you could probably do pretty well in basketball, right?
Stugotz has just handed me a note that Adam Schefter is reporting that Pacheco is out on injured reserve, fibula, at least 4 weeks. Yesterday during the game, and some of these guys came back, but there was literally a 3-minute period, I'm not kidding, where
everyone
happened.
got hurt?
Well, it's Justin Herbert's in a tent. Justin Jefferson is limping back to the locker room.
Kittle.
Nick Bosa is out, and Kittle was just cramps. It is week 2. And the Jets play 3 times in 11 days.
I shouldn't laugh. I'm on this Miami show where, injury is not a conversation that anybody wants to have in Miami, particularly with that quarterback. But are we surprised? Football and MMA, these are the sports where it's this is going to happen. And we've all come to grips with it. We've accepted it. It is what it is. We're going to go tell a bunch of personal stories next week about how much we love everybody. We want them to be healthy, and we wish the game wasn't violent. But we're going to watch this all over again next weekend.
Well, I have a theory here I want to run by you, Dom, because I really haven't seen the outpouring that I saw for Tua from former players or a current coach before. And my theory is that the way that Tua is being concussed has the feeling of a helpless infant in it when you look at what is happening with his hands. And so you get Antonio Pierce. Now, again, he coaches a motorcycle gang, a historic motorcycle gang. Crosby, I mean, that human being would be scary anywhere in the earth he were roaming, okay? And here's Antonio Pierce saying, unbelievably, I thought, a very tough football player, yeah, Tua needs to retire now.
I'll be honest, I'll just tell him to retire. It's not worth it. It's not worth to play the game. I haven't witnessed anything like I've seen that's happened to him 3 times. Scary. You can see right away the players' faces on the field. You can see the sense of urgency from everybody to get Tua help. I just think at some point, he's going to live longer and he's going to play football. Take care of your family.
Stunned. I was really stunned to hear an active coach say that, Dom. It's not something I've seen before.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking. And it's a lot easier to say that when your livelihood is not tied up in it. I'm sure Mike McDaniel is probably listening to that like, man, mind your business. I need that quarterback. But I do think that it's the shocking part. And I think one of the more difficult things for me when I hear these conversations is we actually don't know if it's the like major concussion hits or just the accumulation of like subconcussive episodes that leads to the long-term like health impact. So while the Tua stuff is shocking and it's obviously not healthy for him, there are a lot of other players who are doing things every weekend that are just less egregious, that particularly on the offensive line, where every offensive defensive line, every single play, they're banging heads. And like, it's going to take a toll on them through the course of their careers. And there are, I guess we have better ways to identify the issues that players have had, and we've taken measures to adjust the game and adjust the practices to try to help out the long-term prospects for all of the players' health. But we won't know about how this is working for 10, 20, 30 years to see the impact on those players. So, I mean, obviously the reaction for everyone is to be as cautious as possible with someone else's life and career, but we're not in that situation. We're not that player. We're not that person.
But how do you feel about the instant admonishing that he should retire from people who really have no solid opinion? They're not.
You've got strong opinions on this.
Well,
I can feel the indignance rising up in you.
Well, his opinion is people should stop giving their opinion on whether or not a man should retire.
Stop telling Greg Cody's beloved quarterback and the only hope he's had at the position in 25 years to retire. He's a homer,
I would say
and he wants him to keep playing.
I would say this on behalf of any concussed quarterback in the entire league. Shut the bleep up and let the man make his own decision about his own career and future. Let Tua and his family and his trusted doctors in a room make that decision. Another NFL coach should not be speaking about what another team's quarterback should or shouldn't do with his life. I'm just curious how you feel about that. I thought it was awful of Antonio Pierce to go on the record saying another team's quarterback should retire. Just unspeakably bad.
Yeah, I don't love one team's coach speaking on another team's quarterback, but I think we are going to speculate. Like, it's going to happen, and no one is actually going to force the hand of Tua. Yeah, people are going to say that he should retire. I don't have a problem with that. If that's what you think you're doing, if you think that you're trying to protect someone, I don't have a problem with that. No one's actually stopping him from making a decision. The question that popped up in my head when he had another one of these big prime time, like, isolated and ugly concussions was, what is the league going to do? Like, are they going to make a call? Are they going to step in? Because the real fear, let's be honest, I don't think anyone is actually super concerned about Tua's long-term prospects. Like, I think him and his family are concerned about it. I'm not sure that any of us on the outside, I think we say we are, but our behavior has suggested that we aren't actually, considering what we know about this game and other players. However,
you're just saying liability. You're just talking about liability now.
Yeah, I mean, not even liability as much as it is what happens on the field. I think that is the thing that we all want to avoid, whether we're being completely honest about it or not. I don't think all of us are worried about how Tua is going to feel 30 years from now. I think more of us are worried about what's going to happen on the field if this keeps happening to him on the field. Like, I think that's what scares us more than anything else, because a slow deterioration into some sort of CTE effects is not, I mean, it's proven to us that that's not something that's going to get an actual reaction out of us. Something like on the field, what happened with DeMar Hamlin and what happened with Tua, like, that's what gets us upset. That's what makes us uncomfortable, when it's slammed in our face how brutal this game can be.
I think what Greg's trying to get to, and Dominique is tiptoeing around, is they are afraid of what's going to happen on the field when this team gets rolling. They have Odell, who hasn't played yet. They finally have Tua with a contract. They have Jonnu Smith now in the mix. Right. They're afraid of the Dolphins and Tua getting things going, so they're trying to force him out of the league, and it's despicable. Yeah. Right, Greg?
Mm-hmm.
I love Billy.
Yes, Billy. Thank you for the support.
Dominique Foxworth has, as I mentioned, American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. It is streaming on Hulu, new episodes every Tuesday. What are you making faces for?
I mean, that's why I was here to promote the show. I worked so hard on you, pretend like you were proud of it, and then you started talking about football.
We didn't ask you a single question about it. You're right. Yep.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Yep.
It's a little early for murder, though. Right?
All right. You know what, Dom? We're going to stay there, and we're going to come back and talk about murder with you on a Monday morning. We're going to come back. You're coming back next. He's a super unusual person. Like, usually you have success in the things that you have success in, and most people don't then decide, I'm going to take up writing for fun. But
well, thank you.
He has, yes, Stugotz has also done that. StugottzBook.com is where you go if you want the Stugotz book. But Dominique Foxworth has this new show. Why and how were you lured to it? Because you didn't begin as a staff writer, right? Originally, they were just talking to you because they wanted your football expertise as a consultant, right?
Right. No, I've always liked writing, as I've told you before. My rookie year in the league, I wrote a weekly journal for the Denver Post. And when I retired, like, it was, I think a lot of us have these kind of secret aspirations that are really kind of grandiose. And I wanted to be a screenwriter. And fortunately, I got this opportunity. They called me and asked me if I wanted to be a consulting producer. And so after a week in the writer's room, I made enough contributions that they promoted me to staff writer, which is a pretty bottom of the rung kind of job, but it was really fun experience. And COVID stunk, but one of the good things of COVID was all the writer room were in Zoom, so I could be in a LA and a New York writer's room without having to leave my house.
one of the things that can sink these things, no matter how good the writing. Winning Time worked, at least in part, because the casting was extraordinary. And the Clipper show on Hulu didn't even get started because people were just immediately making fun of the casting. So I want to show you some photos here from Instagram. The actor Norbert Leo Butts plays Belichick. He is here with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez and Brady. I want for you to give us a grade on the casting here of all of these people, because Aaron Hernandez looks kind of small.
A+, A+, A+.
Yeah.
The grading on all of that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's impossible. It's hard to find actors who are the size of NFL players. Fortunately, I think Gronk's character, the actor who played Gronk, I think he is Gronk's body double in like commercials and stuff like that. So he's almost perfect. But I mean, it's difficult. I think when you get a chance to watch it, which David Sampson texts me almost daily about how amazing it is and how much he enjoys it, you'll get pulled in. I think it's hard to do with just a photograph and make you feel great about the casting, but you'll get pulled in and accept that these characters are different, but the story is very similar.
Patrick Schwarzenegger, son of Arnold, plays Tim Tebow. Your thoughts here on, I'm just going to keep doing casting with you. Your thoughts here on Tebow.
Perfection. So like the process of making a show like this, and one of the things that I learned is how heavily involved you are and how little control you have. So Stu Zickerman, the showrunner, was obviously involved from the beginning to the end of this process, but we write the scripts and then we send them to Stu, and then Stu reworks the scripts, then he sends them back to us, then we rewrite them. And before all of that, we spend months like thinking about themes and events and ideas that we want to imbue into the script. And we do all that, and that's just like the first quarter of the process. Then there's the casting, then directing, then the acting, and all that stuff that goes into it. And by the time the final product is produced, it feels like what you had in your mind, but it's also very different from what you had in your mind.
Let's see Wes Welker here. Let's see Wes.
Now finish.
Let's
what does Wes Welker look like?
Let's see Wes.
Land the plane with a great show. Great show. Bring it up. Planes come in. You ruined it.
There's Wes.
That looks like AI.
There's Wes Welker.
It's a flattering hire for Wes.
Let's see Vince Wilfork. Let's see Vince Wilfork here. What do you think of Vince Wilfork here? That looks more like Kimbo Slice.
I think that looks like a man who you would probably embarrass yourself in front of because you did not keep up with his marital status.
Let's see Urban Meyer here. I want to see Urban Meyer here and get Dominique's. This is a very young. This is what Urban Meyer thinks he looks like. Just like Will Levis thinks he's Josh Allen. This is what Urban Meyer on the inside when he's in an Ohio State bar.
That's Urban Meyer.
That is.
Well, it's supposed to be. It does look like Urban Meyer from 20 years ago.
Yeah,
That's Kevin Burkhardt.
Younger, yeah. I haven't seen him in a while, though. It's weird.
Wait till you watch it. Watch it, and then come back with all these criticisms and critiques. Those are perfect casts. I mean, it's Hollywood. You think you want me to go find ugly people? No, we're going to find attractive versions of these athletes. You're welcome.
How many episodes we talking here?
Yeah, I mean.
Just watch the first one. Just watch the first one. That's all I ask of you. Watch the first one, maybe the second one. Yeah, the first and second come out at the same time. Watch both of those. If you don't want to watch it anymore, don't watch it.
Billy's busy watching Secret Lives of Mormon wives.
Mormon, yeah. Well, that's a good one.
There's no competition. I think those are different things. That's like a meal versus dessert. Like I don't want to replace that. That feels like a dessert show. But when you want some substance, something substantial, give us a shot. If you like it, keep watching. If you don't, I had nothing to do with it.
Did you write a cameo role for yourself?
Ooh, good question.
And if not, why not?
Why not?
That's what Cody would do.
That's part of being in the writer's room. I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, my goal was to be a writer, not to like parlay this into some sort of performance, but also like I mentioned before, we do a lot of work, but the final decisions aren't up to me. I did try, actually. I lobbied to get some cameos for Mina and Pablo, but that got vetoed. I was like, Pablo could be like a college professor or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I do like the idea of like a forced scene where they're like, let's check in with Dominique Foxworth and see what he thinks of this Aaron Hernandez situation. And they just like cut to a clip where it's like an actor playing you, like talking to a reporter.
I never played against Aaron Hernandez because I was definitely arguing for like some game. Let's fabricate, because everything in the show is not like completely true. It's supposed to be like close to get the spirit of the events. Let's fabricate a little interception. Let's fabricate a little week 2 turnover, thrown to Dominique Foxworth for return for a touchdown. Maybe 2-pick game.
Did he do it?
No. And no one cares about what I want to do. Oh, you're talking about the. Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about this dude. This
quick
dude
no.
interception.
I already
big twist there.
I already sent that to awful announcing.
You gotta wait and see. You gotta wait and see. I don't want to do you a spoil. I did a show with Pablo about this, and Pablo is just on his show. He's just out here spoiling our show throughout the entire Pablo Torre finds out.
American Sports Story, Aaron Hernandez. New episodes air every Tuesday, beginning this Tuesday, and stream on Hulu. Always nice seeing you, Dom. Thank you for making the time, sir. Do you want to finish landing the plane now? I know you a little bit, so you're gonna deny me the pleasure of it as an act of defiance. But since you said you're a performer, if you can land the plane from here, I'd be impressed by however you did land the plane.
I don't need to impress you. I'm not here to perform for you, sir. While I perform for you, sir. You ruined it. You stepped on it. I was building up, and I was getting people nice and low and lull them into a sense of confidence, and I had a big joke coming that no one's ever going to see because you got bored and decided to steamroll me and take over the mic. Maybe I'll keep talking until we go into the break. Maybe you can hard network out me in front of Cody. Maybe not.
Leave him there. He won't know that we're not listening to him. Just let him keep talking there with the sound down so that nobody reacts to him. What were you guys more impressed by yesterday in the first quarter? We've already said goodbye to you, Dominic. You can sit there for as long or as little as you want. In the first quarter yesterday, Aiden Hutchinson having 3 sacks in the first quarter, the first 11 minutes, or Marvin Harrison having 119 yards in the first 11 minutes receiving after having 4 yards on 1 catch and 1 target last week?
I would say Harrison with the first quarter and really first half that he had.
Hutchinson,
3 sacks?
I know Hutchinson's on pace for 40-plus sacks this season.
Dude, Hutchinson had that game in a vice. That was so dominant.
Yeah.
Harrison still didn't look all that fast for a Maserati.
But that was impressive, man.
Yeah.
Marvin. Did you guys watch my show last week? I told you that Marvin Harrison was going to have this game because I know football. And guess what? He did it all in the first.
It's a shame we had to let him go.
How many shows does he want us to watch?
The Dominique Foxworth show is among the many that he is doing these days. I don't think that you can say that a team has looked more impressive than the Saints. The stat that I'm about to give you, I thought was staggering. Their first 15 possessions of this season, the Saints scored on all of them.
Crazy. First
15 over 2 games. They got either a field goal or a touchdown. And Stugotz, they have scored in their last 3 games, 47, 47, and 44. That hasn't been done since the undefeated Patriots and then some team in 1940. But that team of Randy Moss and Tom Brady was the one that scored like that. There were a handful of surprising things yesterday. Obviously, the Raiders winning at Baltimore, and you had San Francisco losing at Minnesota.
Tampa Bay beating the Lions.
Yeah, big favorites losing at home. But there was nothing more surprising than the way the Saints won. It's not that they won necessarily as a 6-point dog. It's that they steamrolled a Dallas team that made Cleveland look totally inept.
NFL offenses, we've talked about it now for 2 weeks. They're kind of confusing us a little bit, but DraftKings Sportsbook put out an IG tile, and it was really confusing to me, and I'm wondering what you guys do with this. So far, Derek Carr is statistically the best passer in the league. Gardner Minshew has the highest completion percentage. The longest touchdown of the season was thrown by Sam Darnold. Baker Mayfield is undefeated, just won at Detroit, and is just behind Derek Carr in terms of league passing. And Kyler Murray, another dude that someone wrote off, and he didn't write back. Kyler Murray just had a perfect passer rating game. So a lot of dudes that the NFL and its fan bases have kind of made up their minds about have really started this season hot.
And Geno Smith is no longer one of those dudes because he was one of the first to show us, oh, wait, you can reinvent yourself like Sam Darnold, even if you have multiple
You just have
stops.
to leave the Jets. Yeah.
We will get to the Jets in a second, Stugotz, because they have 3 games in 11 days. Like they now play on Thursday night. That's not good for the human body, obviously. But I thought Justin Jefferson, who had a 99-yard catch yesterday, and the Vikings having the confidence to have Darnold throw from his own end zone, and they don't care if Justin Jefferson is double covered. Jefferson was asked before the game, because San Francisco and the Jets had played the week before, if there was anything about how San Francisco played Garrett Wilson that would be instructive to him. And he did his move, our move, of respectfully saying something disrespectful.
So does watching how they defended Garrett Wilson help you at all as you prepare for this one?
Yeah and no. I mean, respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson. Our teams play me totally different.
Great. Perfect.
He's right.
Damn right he is.
That is as quick as you can be disrespectful after claiming at the top you were going to be respectful. That is that respectfully, I'm not Garrett Wilson is a great way to be arrogant in a way that is cool instead of off-putting, because he just threw the respectfully at the top there.
Right. Knowing he was about to bring the disrespect. I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect.
How do you feel about your Jets, Stugotz? Will Levis does think he's Josh Allen, correct? He thinks that he's had the 2 most disastrous turnovers of the entire season, and you can't trust him at all, but he's never going to stop being confident.
Did you watch Callahan coming up to him after that most recent mistake?
Brilliant.
What the F are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, let's play the sound here of Callahan. I was just going to ask God Bless Football's Stugotz to name the coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Callahan.
God Bless Football. Every Monday morning, every Friday morning, Billy Gill, the 4th-ranked international football insider, he was pretty funny after this game, because we've gotten so used to one of the things that's happening. It's not just that defenses and athletes are evolving, Stugotz. It's also there has never been this much of a premium on don't turn the ball over. Like, it's always been a thing, but never the way it is now. And so when you see something that is intergalactically stupid done by your quarterback, you're stunned by it. And so was the Titans coach.
What did you say to Will on the fumble? I know you looked very upset on the sideline.
I think the camera caught it pretty clear, if I had to guess. So, I was upset. It was dumb. It was the same exact thing he did last week, and he cost us points in the red zone. And that is what it is. He's a grown-up, and he knows better. And so, I was really irritated that he cost us 3 points in a game that we probably needed it.
These Callahans got right to it, man. I mean,
Great.
He's like, I thought it wasn't going to get better than it was dumb. But he's grown up. Like that's something a toddler would do. That is something a rebellious teen would do. That is not something that an adult professional would do in a professional setting where we all respect the Duke. The football is not something to be turned over. Are you guys in agreement with me, both of you, on the idea that the not turning the ball over is such a premium now that we're doomed to 18 to 13 games?
I don't know if we're doomed to it. I think not turning the ball over has always been important, probably more important than it's ever been, and it's why I thought Aaron Rodgers, people are saying the Jets, it felt like a loss after the game. Nah, it felt like a win. Aaron Rodgers did not turn the ball over, and Aaron Rodgers took them down on a drive in the 4th quarter where most Jet quarterbacks in the history of that organization can't get that done. Aaron Rodgers yesterday got it done on the road for the Jets, who go home now for 4 straight home games, and 3 of them are against bad teams. What Aaron did yesterday was he made big plays when he had to, and he did not turn the ball over. That's what he did.
I think the NFL has shown you over the last few years that you can do both, as everyone took a page out of Aaron Rodgers' playbook and said, no, we can throw the ball downfield, have good, impressive passing touchdown numbers, passing numbers, and still limit turnovers. The names that I just rattled off are all guys reputed to be turnover guys. Minshew, Murray, Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield.
Right.
I would like to see more teams taking risk and care less about turnovers, quite frankly, because I think there's a lot of reward, as we saw with Justin Jefferson, who might actually change Sam Darnold. That's a good way to help by just pushing the ball downfield.
Are you guys opposed to what I'm saying that there were a whole lot of bad football games yesterday that I don't want to watch. Colts, Packers, Jets, Titans, I don't really want to watch. Seahawks, Pats, I know it's a close game. Not interested in thinking those teams are championship worthy. Giants, Commanders, Chargers, Panthers, Browns, Jags might have been interesting in a different incarnation. That one was hard to watch. Steelers, Broncos, not interested. But a couple of enormous upsets. So the most surprising from among these to you guys was which one? The way the Rams beat the Cardinals, the way the Saints beat the Cowboys, or the Bucs over the Lions, the Vikings over the 49ers, Chiefs Bengals gives you the punctuation to the day that makes you feel less gross at night, because I felt gross at the end of the night. You guys, the rest of you feel gross at the end of the weekend. Do you not when you're this slovenly about watching 40 hours of football?
I always tell myself 72-hour fast begins Monday after a football Sunday.
Kicks in around 4 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1 o'clock game. You still feel alive. 4 o'clock, you're just hanging on for dear life. I mean,
well, yesterday was, what was it, a decabox? 10 games in the 1 o'clock. Is that it was too much, Chris?
It was the busiest 1 o'clock window, according to Scott Hansen, of the season.
Even Scott was stressed out. Like, it was just too much.
Right.
Like, he was just like, there's this, there's that. Like, you could feel him being stressed. Like, 8's enough. I don't need more than the octobox. Once we get to 9 and 10, it's just too much.
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Did Scott Hansen seem stressed out about the 10 games in the 1 o'clock window? Because I will say he got to breathe in the 4 o'clock hour, but it was too slow, and then he had to fill. Like he had a bunch of things.
He wanted those games back.
They don't have commercials in the red zone. Which was the most surprising to you from among the results? Everything I gave you.
How could it not be the Saints beating Dallas and the way the Saints beat the Dallas?
Because I had the Raiders as being bad and Baltimore not being 0-2. That was the biggest dog of the weekend. It was a 9-point spread in that game.
That was the biggest surprise to me, was the Ravens falling to 0-2. They should have beaten Kansas City. They lost literally by a length of a toe. But to lose that game yesterday, and they were ahead much of the game. That was brutal. And I'm not just saying that because I picked the Ravens to cover, and I'm really pissed off at that result.
I'm picking something else. I think you guys were bang on, but I'm just going to pick something else that also interested me, in that it appears like Baker and the Bucs wasn't a fluke last year, and it had all the makings of feeling like a fluke. And yet, you're going to make this mistake. You're going to pay this guy big time money. They go to the place that they lost in the playoffs last year, Detroit, who I think the odds have is a second favorite inside that conference. And despite Aiden Hutchinson being a demigod, they navigate it and they win that game and they control it mostly.
I wonder how this is going to go over in Detroit with expectations. I don't know if you guys saw the end of the first half, but the Lions, you never see this in pro football. You see it in college some, but in pro football, they do not mismanage the clock in a way that stays in bounds without timeouts, and then all of a sudden at the end of the half, you can't get your field goal team on the field and you just lose the points because you get a holding penalty. You thought you get the penalty that costs you points, and then obviously you lose by a margin. So many of these games are close. That's coaching that ends up being
Campbell took responsibility for it.
I know, and look, it's a penalty. It can happen to anybody, but your team needs to not be getting a penalty when it runs out of timeouts in a way that costs them 3 points. When there are suddenly expectations for the Lions, that I can say this, Stugotz, have never existed before. Not haven't existed this century. That team has never had the expectations it has this year. You know how laughable it is to hear Mike Ryan say they're second in the conference? Like, that team has never been any good. And yesterday they dump a game against a team that none of us think is championship worthy. You can underestimate or overestimate the Bucs. None of us think the Bucs are winning the Super Bowl.
I'm willing to listen now, considering the performance they just put up. I think we also have to start asking ourselves, was Tom Brady holding this team back?
Great question.
How was Brady yesterday? I didn't hear.
I saw he received general praise for improving week over week. That they said it was a pretty strong improvement.
So I think week one, what happened was the bar was set so high because he's Tom Brady, and it fell flat, and then the bar came back down, and Tom Brady exceeded it, right?
I think one of the things that's working against him, and we touched on it a little bit last week, is his voice.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah.
Too high pitched.
Yeah, I think it'll take us a minute for that voice to be attached to what feels like a big game. Once you have him on important, meaningful moments, then you'll start saying, oh, he's on the call, it'll feel like a big game. Chris Fowler also kind of felt like this early on, where you just got used to a certain voice attached to big games, and it takes you a while, and you're probably a little too harsh in criticizing, and now you really can't imagine a big-time college football game without his voice attached to it. So it's just a matter of time.
Billy, God bless football today. You guys,
it's out now.
It's
Check
out
it out.
now.
Boom.
Tell me what's on there. Tell me what's worth hearing, because you get the hottest and the freshest.
All worth hearing.
It's all worth hearing. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
Stugotz's fiery takes when he comes in here all fired up about everything that happened this weekend. What are the highlights?
Well, we have our winners and losers as we do every week. I have my Bid Loose Bets Big Boards brought to you by at the end of the show. Lucy joins us. We play some Lucy or Goosey. We have some top 5 lists. I also, and this wasn't a thing, this wasn't a segment, it was just a note kind of hidden in there. I have my eye on 2 different people.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's not a segment. It was just, in my notes I have here right in purple. Boom, I got my eye on this person. I got my eye on that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, color-coded notes.
What does that mean? Forgive me for my ignorance here,
What do you
but Jason.
We're keeping an
Sanders,
ongoing list. It's
I'm
Jason
confused
Sanders,
here.
Justin Tucker.
Jason Sanders,
spoiler alert,
you've had
geez
an
Louise.
eye on. Okay, I'm
sorry,
sorry. You've
Billy.
already revealed that on the show before.
My bad.
Well, no, Stugotz
Yeah.
is here.
Yeah,
just
my bad,
telling
Bill.
you,
I didn't give
Justin
out the
Tucker's
third
one of
one.
them.
Yeah.
And then the next thing he's going to say is Travis Kelce's the other one, and then it's like, why even listen?
I didn't say that.
Well,
Respect
you
your
could.
own embargo.
I know. Listen,
Yeah,
I didn't give
come
out
on,
the
man.
third
What are we
one. I
doing
stopped
here?
short. I mean,
Travis Kelce, 1 catch for 5 yards. When's it starting that, everything he's done this offseason is slowing him down? When that will start?
I think you just started it.
you
but-
just did it,
yeah.
right? And I warned him. I warned him of this last year. I was telling my friend Travis Kelce, this is what happens. People like Dan Le Batard, they come out and say Kelce is focused on the wrong things. It happens. I can't believe it.
You're too kind to partake in this engagement bait game, and you really shouldn't be so nice because you put that on people, and that's your thought. You think that Travis Kelce needs to focus more on football.
No, I
Come
asked
look
the
into a
question.
camera and let's get some likes.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it for you. But I was genuinely asking the question of whether this was happening or not.
Mm-hmm.
But listen,
Legit.
I was.
He's doing a thing.
I was gonna time it.
It's all right.
I was
Greg.
gonna
Right.
time it.
It's all
I'm
right.
doing it for the camera.
Take
because he
2.
wants the clips.
Go ahead.
Before you do that, though, Dan, you asked what was going to happen on God Bless Football. We also talked about our God Bless Football Dan Le Batard Show Listener League presented by Smirnoff. Join GBF's weekly contest for a chance to compete against the cast, plus win cash prizes. DKNG.co/Smirnoff. Presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. How did I do? Great question. 5th place. Cash.
Yes.
I wish I was wearing a costume right now.
Why?
Taylor Swift and the Swifties have ruined Travis Kelce. He used to be one of the best tight ends in the history of the universe. And this season, because of all of the distractions involving commercials and fame and the Kelce's getting gorging on the gluttony of celebrity, Jason did the right thing in retiring. Travis continues to play, but poorly because he's been wrecked by all the sugary fame around Taylor Swift.
Does that work, Mike? Or
I don't know.
No, I'm not going that far.
priorities in order?
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just worried about Dan for the rest of the week. But also, they may see through Dan's overt, really sad, desperate attempt for relevancy
clicks,
to
yeah.
grift off of her name.
Billy,
Bad advice someone gave you.
tell the
Worse
people
execution.
what you whispered in my ear that I thought went out on air.
Well, when you did that whole thing, I just whispered into your "I hate Taylor Swift" to see if you'd say it, but you didn't. Yeah, and then you thought that I said it.
No,
and
but then
it
I
was
re-
our little secret.
Yes.
But now you're telling everybody about our secret.
This guy FaceTimed us from the shower. Hey, Dan, it's me, Lucy. And after taking last week off, not going to any game, just staying home, nothing really happened. You don't need to look into it. We are back this week in Madison, Wisconsin for Alabama, Wisconsin, and what is supposed to be the greatest college town in America. So I'm going to figure out if it is. I'm not too worried about the game, though. I think Wisconsin's going to lose by 50. Are you guys scared of Bama?
Well, no. Look around. These people aren't scared of anything. Should they be?
Yes.
Yeah, and they should be.
Absolutely, they should be. Have you seen how big those guys are?
Baby, we here. We coming. It's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a bloodbath.
No one's scared of Bama. We got them.
I got the Badgers by 21, if not 28. Let's go, Badgers.
Ain't nothing but the time.
I love your hat. Thank you. Thank you. I made it myself. Okay, what do you have today?
We have Alabama every way you can get them.
It's Bama every way, pretty much.
It's Bama's day.
And they're definitely using the DraftKings app.
DraftKings makes every game day worthwhile.
Look, I hate to say it. There are a lot of fans around us. I feel like everyone should be more drunk right now.
Well, it is 9 a.m.
It's Wisconsin. Is Madison the best college town in America? Can you let me know, what is this hat situation we got going on here?
Well, believe it or not, this hat I found on the road dead, and I got a permit from the Wisconsin DNR to make it into a hat.
Have you guys ever heard of the Dan Le Batard Show?
I have not, but I will tune in.
Because you were on it.
Correct.
Stugotz.
Stugotz does so much dumb man.
He really does. He's so good at doing dumb.
Dan, watch your mouth. Stop talking about LeBron.
So one thing that I do like overhearing is the Tua song, Tua Tapua.
It's just amazing. Everything is amazing. Madison's amazing. Lucy's amazing. The show's amazing. We're putting the town on alert, and we're having a great time.
Who is your favorite person on the show?
Does Greg count?
Yeah.
Billy is the second, but Greg makes me very, very happy.
So that's the end of the list.
That's the end of the list, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for talking with us. So, he left out the Lucy on the list. How has the Tyler Van Dyke experience been for you so far?
The experience was great. I don't know what else to say.
Do you know who that is?
He is your starting quarterback.
What's up?
He's your starting quarterback.
Give me a multiple choice question. I think I got it, but
So I already asked you about him. Do you think that hint will answer it for you? I already told you. Yeah, he got it. He knows the Badgers starting quarterback. How do you guys feel about PJ Fleck?
Yeah, how do you feel? I don't know who that is.
They're doing so good.
He should be coaching seventh graders, the way he runs up and down the field all the time.
I mean, you can't be acting like that 500 in the Big Ten now. Come on.
Guess who PJ Fleck is?
Running back.
Okay. Who's your guess?
Linebacker. It's got to be a linebacker.
Okay. That is the head coach for the University of Minnesota. How badly do you miss Nick Saban?
Very badly.
Like,
I
what
dream
would
of him every night?
What would you do to have him back?
Probably eat Greg Cody's toenail.
That is it's so nasty. This trip to the best college town in America was presented by Powerade. It takes more. I believe that everyone says they're the number one fan. I think that Jane actually is the number one fan.
We lived in California, and an Alabama game was on, but our neighbors didn't know it. So they called the police because they thought it was a domestic disturbance because we were yelling so much.
And we heard your voicemail.
Bama's got a new coach in town. Heard he's been going around getting this team ready to win. I can't wait for football season to begin. Roll Tide.
Everybody loves my jingle. See her red shirt? A lady came up at the bar and said, "Your shirt's inside out." And she went, "That's Wisconsin underneath you." That's what I think about Madison. Roll Tide. I can die happy now.
She's going to take my job.
Roll Tide. Roll.
All right, so that was Madison, Wisconsin. As much as I wanted to hate it, and I wanted to hate it so much, it's actually really, really awesome here. However, the bad news about this whole thing is we are 3 weeks into the college football season, and I am 0-3. The home team has lost in every single game I've gone to. So if you don't want to take your chances and you want to cheer for your team, drown out my bad luck, download the Game Time app and use code Lucy for $20 off your first order. Terms apply. You guys know what time it is. It's game time. Except for here, this game is over. This game was over a long time ago.
I am delighted by some of the things happening around here. Greg Cody's publisher just left moments ago because Stugotz and Greg Cody both have dueling books, and Lucy is keeping the socials alive along with Juju. She's keeping everything vibrant on the weekends. You enjoyed the holy hell out of Madison. Why didn't you have a report last week? What happened? I just was reminded of that at the top there. I had forgotten that you didn't have a report last week.
I don't know what happened. Your guess is as good as mine.
But don't you work for us every weekend?
Not last weekend, nope. I was off last weekend. Nothing was going on. Real chill weekend. Everything's good. Vibes are great.
Did you trip a kid last week?
No, I don't know what you're talking about. I feel like you guys are just making stuff up.
Was there some sort of disaster that I don't know about that is the reason that Lucy didn't have a report last week?
No, she definitely had one where she tripped a kid with her mind.
Yeah, we saw it.
You sound really crazy right now.
I saw her say into a camera, "I wish this kid would fall," and he fell.
Yeah.
That really doesn't sound like me.
Greg, your publisher just left here delighted, skipping on air because our listeners have made both of your books, even though Stugotz's isn't quite out yet, but I saw the galley last week. It was very exciting.
I love a galley.
It had words in it. There's a book with words in it, many of them written by others, but still there is a Stugotz book with words in it. And your publisher just left because back in my day, the book now is, this is the first time I've seen the hard copy. It looks like a dolphin book. It's dolphin, it has some dolphin colors to it.
I never noticed.
Huh.
Also Jetson vibes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, it should. I think the Jetsons are mentioned in this book.
Right.
Perhaps more than once.
Do you have a back in my day today?
No, it's Monday.
Yeah.
That's a Tuesday
joint.
joint.
Jeez.
But the book comes out October 29th. Mark the date. And pre-sales now, Amazon, wherever you buy books.
Why do they have to mark the date if they can get it now?
Mark the date because a lot of people like to buy a book the day it comes out. They go into a store. It's a tactile experience. Instead of it arriving coldly in a package on your doorstep, you go, you pick it up yourself. You steal it, you put it in your jeans, and you walk out. You don't have to pay for it, although I recommend you do. But October 29th.
Why are you're just yammering about theft? Someone should steal your book,
No,
put it in their
they
jeans?
shouldn't. No.
Do you get a cut based on sales, or did you already get your money? Because then who cares if they steal it, right?
You know
if you already
what?
got your money, what difference does it make?
I don't know how that works.
Oh.
I don't do it for the
You
money,
want it to
Billy.
sell
You
well,
know
though.
The publisher left very happy, Mango Publishing, and Greg Cody said, well, Stugotz is making real money on his book. Greg Cody is disparaging his local publisher.
No, we love Mango Publishing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it is not
great partnership.
It is not quite the monetary cash cow of an unnamed
Random House.
major.
Random House.
Random House
Yep.
would be an example.
Yes.
To use a random example, quite frankly.
Your book was smaller than I thought. Not in terms of pages, in terms of like height. It would fit in your pocket. It looks
that's
like.
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
You could steal it.
Don't
Yeah.
get any ideas.
How'd you decide on that size? How do we decide this?
I love this size.
It's a good
5 by 7.
size.
It's 5 by 7. It's
You could put it at a
beautiful.
Walgreens.
Good toilet book.
Whoa, what is that
you
supposed
could
to
say
be?
that.
I mean, yeah.
That's not an insult.
No, I don't disparage.
It's not a compliment.
Put it on the.
You wouldn't say that about the Bible, would
Put
you?
it on the. It's not a good toilet book. I would say it about a book that's good near the toilet. The Bible is too heavy. It's cumbersome. It's not. Leviticus is not easy reading. It's not a little something light that you get in and out on.
Very small print, the Bible always, huh? Just an observation.
Yeah, useless one, largely. But I am very excited, Greg, that both you and Stugotz have books and that Lucy is able to have so much fun on weekends around this ridiculous, stupid thing that we get to do.
Stupid? That guy had a hat made out of a dead badger. What's stupid about that?
You got a permit for that hat.
Yep.
How do you do that?
Okay, so I asked, he's made 12 Badger hats over the years with dead Badgers. So you go to the DNR, and he's been to the DNR so many times they know him by name now. Like, he knows his DNR guy. And that he'll get the approval, usually pretty quick because they know him there. And then he goes to a taxidermist, and they turn it into a hat, and he gives them to, like, friends and family.
You don't believe that was actually a dead thing that he found on
it
the
absolutely
side of the
was,
road?
because I was like looking at it, and I was like, the detail on this is phenomenal, and I was going to ask to touch it, but I said, what if on the off chance that this is a real Badger? So I was like, hey, what's the deal with this hat? Then he told me it was real. I was like, thank God I didn't touch it. But yeah, 100% that was a real live animal. Or dead animal.
Many things that I enjoy about what it is that you're doing with a smirk in your coverage is these things are a fundamentally insane snapshot of America on Saturdays. Like, it's a wonderful look at something that should feel wildly foreign, because it's nothing but lunatics, and so many are drunk by 9 a.m.
Yeah, they were very, very drunk in Madison, and they tailgate kind of differently in Wisconsin because there are so many bars there and so many bars close to the stadium that there's a lot of people who will just go to a bar at 8 in the morning there, which is really, really cool. But yeah, that's kind of the goal of this series. I'd like to show why, how college football sort of shapes these cultures and how everyone is different in, like, school by school, but they're all sort of the same. I loved Madison. I am a huge fan. I would go back, but I think their football team's pretty bad.
My favorite part of off-roading this week was this lady paying homage to the Puka Nakua song.
Yeah.
Hit it.
So one thing that I do like overhearing is the Tua song, Tua Tapua, or
It's just amazing.
Nailed it.
Yes, it's good.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
hear one of the greatest songs. It's a Suey winner, is it not? The Suey winning song, Puka Nakua.
His name is Cooper, good at running curls. But when his hammy got a tear, he saw Puka standing there, his blade diminished. Hostile take over. Nakua hopped into the car. McVay has maybe found a star, and then Matt Stafford threw him 25 and 2. Oh, there's a brand new kid in town out of BYU. They call him Puka. Puka Nakua.
Did all of you have the main question that I had from the football weekend, which was, who dressed Moose Johnston?
Oh, not are the Raiders for real, huh?
Put it on the poll, Juju at Le Batard Show. Are the Raiders for real? But who dressed Moose Johnston? Because he was trendy for concussions before concussions were trendy, and I could not believe what it is that he was wearing. The combination of things that he was wearing. Merrill Hodge did some of this on television. Peyton Manning does some of it on television.
Peyton Manning just tries to trigger me every time he's on television.
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah,
Really?
that's exactly what he's doing.
He's going out of his way to try to trigger you.
Trigger Mike today.
He's got weird, like a floral pattern tie, plaid jacket, striped shirt. Like, what are we doing here, pal? You're just trying to set me off.
The outfit that Moose Johnston was wearing, I hope that you guys can find it, but I just don't understand what he is doing with the combination of jacket, tie, and shirt, none of which go together in a way that somebody's got to say something to him before he leaves the house. I don't know if the rest of you had the same reaction I did. I don't know whether Greg Olsen was doing, which game was he doing, but it made me sad that he was doing a lesser game than Saints and Cowboys, which is the one Brady was doing sitting in Olsen's seat.
Can you throw up the image of Moose again? Because it looks like he's at a Jim Irsay convention.
You're right. Yeah, a tribute of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just like a certain swag. And like Bisciotti has this with Baltimore too. Like they all have the same stylist.
I want to ask you guys about what happened in and at Baltimore, because the Raiders winning that game after the Chargers wiped the floor with the Raiders, and I think with Minshew as the quarterback, you kind of know what a Minshew coached or a Minshew quarterback team, what their ceiling is. It's only going to be so high. For the Ravens to again be up 10 points, for a two-time MVP to have a team that runs the ball very well, largely because Lamar runs it well, but that runs the ball very well, being the worst team in the league at protecting 10-point leads in the fourth quarter, being a team that lost only 4 times last year and now has lost twice this year. And Greg said earlier they were a toe away from winning. No, they were not. They were a toe away and an extra point from tying the game. They've now lost twice. You guys last week said to me when I'm talking about the Bengals being 0-2, oh, they always start slow and they rebound. I'm like, I don't think that's a repeatable thing. I don't think you can keep starting 0-2 and then just be good enough the following year to fix it every time. Like, yes, they are slow starters, but I don't believe they're just going to be able to fix that because they're the Bengals.
Well, they've started 0-2 3 consecutive years, and they fixed it. I mean,
but you think that's a repeatable thing, that they could do that every year for 10 years? Because I don't.
Well, they play the Commanders on Monday Night Football next week, so I think that they'll be on the right track yet again. And that was really unfortunate. That I wasn't a fan of that call. I don't think many people were. It's not like the Kansas City Chiefs need anybody's help. But the Baltimore thing, it's been a thing for a couple of seasons now where they're reputed to blow big leads, and it's weird because if you would think of an offense that is kind of designed to protect leads, it's that. They've always had a solid rushing attack spearheaded by their quarterback who seemingly can get 6 yards whenever he wants to with his leg. And you watch these games, and it's a little confusing as to how these things happen. Usually it's a turnover. The game flows make no sense when you watch the Baltimore Ravens blow some of these games.
Billy's put Justin Tucker, he's got an eye on him on God Bless Football. He's now 1 for 7 from 50 yards plus, which is a bit stunning for a Hall of Famer.
They need a long-distance guy. They do. I mean,
specialists.
Yeah.
They said he was kicking them from 70 yards at the end of that game. I don't know what you guys wanted when they were 70 yards from the end zone, but I did want a 77-yard field goal try by Justin Tucker instead of what they did, which is just Lamar Jackson is going to try running straight up the field on the last play for 70 yards.
It's the better option, though. I mean, Lamar.
Which one is?
Lamar. I mean,
I wanted
Tucker can't hit from 50. You want him to hit from 77?
I wanted them to get within 70 yards. I wanted to see Justin Tucker try a 70-yard field goal.
He could make it.
I would have liked to have seen that more. Which one do you like your chances on better? Hail Mary from 63 yards out or a 70-yard field goal? Or I guess it'd be 53 yards out.
I'm going Lamar.
When he started running, I was like, what is he doing? And then as he was doing it, I'm like, this might work.
Right.
Like this was actually a good idea. You don't have to bother about having someone actually catch the ball. Like, you just kind of keep throwing it backwards to your own team. Like, he got like a good 30 yards before anyone was anywhere near him.
Stugotz mentioned that what he had at the end of the Jets game felt like a balm, which is, I've got a quarterback who could lead me down the field and is going to do so without panic, and I don't expect him to turn the ball over. Are we officially at the status where Mahomes is in Tom Brady land, which is you cannot leave him time? He is going – you have to fear him at the end of the game, no matter what his timeout situation, no matter Travis Kelce, 1 catch for 5 yards, no matter that his offensive weapons are clearly reduced and he's throwing for $150. You cannot leave him time at the end of the game. We are all expecting him to come back and win the game.
I think that's been the case for a while now with Patrick Mahomes, not just this year. I think what's interesting about Kansas City and the start they've gotten off to here is they have done so with a Travis Kelce, and Dan pointed out the reasons why earlier in the show. He is not focused. But Travis Kelce is not playing well. Pacheco is hurt. Hollywood Brown is out, and they're still 2-0, and it's a 2-0 against the Ravens and the Bengals. Like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think one of the things Mahomes has proven is that a couple of years ago, okay, he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got Travis Kelce in his prime. He doesn't have either of those things now, but he is so great that he makes nondescript receivers seem great.
You guys say this, but it is a monumental effort right now for Kansas City to get to 26 points. The salary cap has decimated that offense. I used to think every time out they're going to get 4 touchdowns. Like, they're not going to be settling for field goals, and you should expect them to score in the 30s. What that offense is now compared to what it's been, and I know it was much of this last year, it's not recognizable. He's great, but that offense does not scare me.
What we're doing is not giving the Chiefs defense and Steve Spagnuolo enough credit because he's been great since he's gotten there. I mean, the defense has been really good.
With the youngest defenses every year. But still, what I'm telling you can't be disputed, Stugotz. Travis Kelce is now at an age where that does, I mean, look at the wear and tear on that body, how he's had to play to be the best receiver, to feel like the best wide receiver in football as a tight end because of what he can do. If I give you him 1 catch for 5 yards, when I've always known he's good for 14 targets a game and he's going to have 9 catches for $130. Like, you know it coming in, and that's what it's going to be for both games this season, for him to feel like a non-factor. And for when that game's being decided yesterday, Patrick Mahomes has 150 yards passing. Like that's not that, and he'll complete the passes, but 150 yards passing, that is every team in the league will take that before the game as a Patrick Mahomes start.
He's also turned the ball over a lot this season. Like, he turned it over twice yesterday. He turned it over once the week before. Like, he's kind of a little wild with the ball this year.
I would say that when your offense is not as good, that's what's going to happen. And there's not a disputing that in the last 5 years, what we've seen through these 2 games is the worst version. This offense has been in decline for a season and a half. It's being held together by the greatness of its quarterback.
And so is Kelce, by the way. And then he had the arrow pointing down, and then he had the greatest postseason a tight end's ever had. So I'm not going to start saying he's done, and certainly what I thought you did earlier in the show was really out of line.
Totally.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stugotz, would you do me the favor of looking at the last 2 game logs that looked anything like what Travis Kelce has just put up in the last 2 games, where it's 1 catch for 5 yards in the last one, and the one before that, whatever it was, 3 for 32.
So you want a 2-game stretch earlier in his career where he had 4 catches for 39 yards?
Look, over the last 5 years, this is the only human being I've ever seen that would rival the best tight end I've ever seen, which is Gronk. His production has been Gronkian. It is not a stoppable thing. No matter who is in the Kansas City Chiefs huddle, Travis Kelce is good for 9 targets a game. He's never 1 catch 5 yards. That's not like Kittle will do that once in a while, weirdly in a way that I don't understand, but it's not Travis Kelce. And so I'm confused by it through 2 games, and it doesn't matter because they're 2-0 anyway.
Right, but if the defenses are taking away Travis Kelce, that's why the wideouts.
No, but Greg, my point is there is no such thing. Every defense is always trying to take away Travis Kelce. What you've seen in the last couple of Dolphin games where Tyreek Hill has been neutralized, it makes me assume he's injured, even though he's largely not done anything against the Bills historically, because there is no neutralizing that. Every week, somebody's trying to stop it. It doesn't get stopped. But the last Dolphin game, you get a situation where Waddle and Hill don't do anything, and every week somebody's trying to make sure that someone other than Waddle and Hill beat us.
They also haven't really targeted Travis Kelce at all, right? They had 3 targets this week, 4 targets last week. This could be reading into it like too much, and maybe I'm crazy, but like, these 2 teams, and the Ravens and the Bengals, are teams that the Chiefs are probably going to have to go through at the end of the season, possibly in the playoffs, right? So maybe you don't want to show them everything right now. They're not really going after Travis at all. So they have enough pieces that they can get everybody targets. He has like 7-8 guys that he's hitting a game in terms of, targets here. Maybe they're not giving them everything right now.
2021, he had back-to-back games against the Raiders and the Broncos, 6 catches, 54 yards.
Total.
Yeah. I didn't want to go back further. I mean, I was getting tired.
Okay. But what Billy is saying seems shocking.
Got to play it close to the
vest.
vest.
The Chiefs are playing possum. You've got them playing. It's not. Which
Maybe.
is it? Which is it? Is it close to? Which is it? Close to the vest or possum? Which are they doing? You have the Chiefs not trying to activate Travis Kelce,
doing just enough,
just enough to beat the Ravens.
They have little things here and there. What happens game 1? Xavier Worthy. Wow, this guy's a star. Next week, like 3 targets. This is what they're doing. They're just showing you all the ways they can beat you, and then you prepare for one, and then boom, someone else beats you next week.
Right, but postseason, they put it all together.
Yeah. Let's keep Travis Kelce under wraps because people
right.
don't know about him.
Well, which
He's
one?
only been in the league 10 years.
Which one is it? Is it close to the vest? Is it under wraps, or is it playing possum?
I like possum. I mean,
so they're playing dead.
Yeah. 2-0.
Dead as that Wisconsin's guy's badger on his hat.
The Dolphins just signed a Pro Bowl quarterback. Find out who next.
Wow.